Good morning, everybody. My name is Roger. I'm the president of AIESEC ANU. Welcome to the Initiators Hall, hosted by AIESEC ANU and sponsored by Australian National University, Australian Youth Forum, the CPA Australia, and Barton Solutions. Let me introduce you to Justin Barrie. He's the co-founder of Prepler.com and also the founder of Design Managers Australia. He'll be our master of ceremonies and moderator for the closing panel for the day. Thank you.
Thanks, Roger. This is a pretty exciting day for you guys. I'm going to speak as little as possible and get you to the plenary speakers and the workshops because they look really exciting. I just thought I'd give some opening remarks on the theme of the conference around leadership and convergence and really just try and emphasise the things you're going to hear today in lots of different contexts, everything from climate change policy to youth parliaments. The theme of convergence is really important and real. So, as Roger said, my day is kind of constantly split into two. One is with, bizarrely, the world's largest online loyalty card aggregator, which is my private sector kind of life. But DMA, my company, is a service design consultancy, and so we spend our days in complex systems with public sector organisations, trying to make sure that when they implement their policies and implement their systems, it's done in a way that doesn't impact on the users that they're intended to deliver them to. So everything from chronic disease management plans right through to the world famous insulation program. We've been in there playing around trying to set things right in design, and the way that we do that, we've always done it for over a decade, is not relying on one discipline. So we simply do not do a piece of work where we don't get multiple disciplines in a room, run an interdisciplinary team to look for the best solution. So convergence as a way of doing business and a way of achieving results is simply just in our view the only way you can get the best results in complex situations. So it's a theme that's dear to my heart, and I hope you really enjoy today and get the most out of it. Today, with the workshops and with the session at the end with the moderated panel, is about you interacting with the presenters. So please, as you move around during the day, ask questions, log questions, and let's make that panel at the end of the day really worthwhile and get the most out of it. So anything that springs to mind during the day, write it down, jump on the Facebook page and list it, and we'll make sure those questions are answered at the end. So without further ado, I'll throw over to our first speaker, not a stranger to many of you, Vice Chancellor Professor Ian Young, if you could welcome him to the stage.
Well, thank you. Unfortunately, I have to speak to you for about 15 minutes and then literally run. And one of the things you learn about leadership is your day seems to be endlessly filled with one meeting after another. But I was asked to I guess, give you 15 minutes of hopefully wisdom on leadership. And I occasionally get asked to talk on leadership, and I have over the years. I always feel slightly nervous about doing it because I actually have absolutely no formal qualifications in leadership at all. I'm an engineer and a scientist by background, but I guess I've had 25 years of practical experience of getting things wrong. And hopefully over that period of time you learn a few things in terms of what not to do, hopefully what you might want to do. So I'll give you just 12 observations I've made over the years, some of which you might find in leadership books and some probably won't. Now I guess the first thing that I've observed both in myself and people who've worked for me and other people I've interacted with is that leadership style is a personal thing. I don't think you can actually characterise people as leaders and say they have all of these attributes, because people do it in different ways, and you've got to understand what your leadership style is. There may be some things that all leaders have to do, but the way you do them is often different, and indeed the organisation you're in or the organisation you might be leading may dictate that you do things in different ways as well. So, 12 observations on leadership. Well, my first one is that if you want to lead, someone has to follow. And what I mean by that is that a good leader's got to be able to have a vision that people can actually identify with. If you don't have a vision that people can identify with, you can't bring them along with you. And there are very few organisations today in our society where you can lead by dictating. You really need to be able to sway it in any way. Good leaders do exactly that. So I think you need to be able to have that vision. You need to be able to have people that want to follow that vision. My second observation is that leadership involves making decisions. And what I mean by that is, often in the decision-making process, we need to consult, we need to talk to people, we need to understand their views, we need to listen to what they say. We might, in many cases, change our own views and shape them by what people say. But ultimately, if you're the person who's in the leadership position, you've got to make the decision in the end. No one else will make it for you. And although consensus, that is getting everybody to agree, is a great thing, consensus actually isn't a replacement for leadership. And there are some decisions which work nicely by consensus, but many of the difficult decisions, often you can't get consensus. And that's when a leader has to actually have the courage to make decisions. And ultimately you'll find, in many cases, people respect you for that. They may not always agree with you, but I think they'll respect you for doing that, particularly if you do it in an open way. My third observation is that, unfortunately, you can't please all the people all the time. And it would be nice if you could, and I think most people who are in leadership positions want to be loved. Everybody does. But unfortunately, there are times, again, when that can't be the case. When hard decisions have to be made, and they need to be made, understanding all of the consequences of those. But again, that's a part of leadership. Good leaders are well-rounded. My observation is people who lead organisations and lead them very well have broad interests. Their family, outside involvements, often things which are completely different to the organisations in which they work. Now, in many leadership roles, you become totally immersed. Your life simply becomes the thing which you're leading. But I think it's always very healthy and very instructive to have a broad range of inputs externally. My fifth observation is one I'm pretty sure you won't find in any textbook at all, one which I live by often. And I simply put it this way: if it doesn't look right, if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't smell right, guess what? It's not right. And what I mean by that, I think I have a 100% track record in getting it wrong every time I disobeyed that rule. And where it often happens is you'll often be in a position in organisations. The decisions almost always involve people, because people decisions are always very difficult decisions to make. And I've often made decisions, a few times made decisions, where I've sat there and gone, gee, this is not a really very good solution, but it's probably the easiest solution to make in this particular case. All of the other solutions just look too hard. But every time my gut feeling said, this is just not a really good solution, but I've made the decision because it was the easiest thing to do at the time. Ultimately, it was the wrong decision. And so I think one of the things that's really important, if you're going to make decisions, you've actually got to believe, doesn't mean you'll always be right, but you've got to be able to believe that what you're looking at here looks right, feels right, and is the right thing to do. And if it's not, then I don't think you should make the decisions. One of the interesting things about being a leader is lots of other people know how to do your job better than you do. And they'll tell you that regularly. And you should listen to them, but not necessarily always believe them. But the other thing is, they will always be watching what you do. And that's really important. And that doesn't just mean in your leadership role, it means in the external things you do, how you talk to people, how you behave. People are always watching. And that's very important for you to realise that, so that your leadership role doesn't actually end when you walk out the door of the thing that you're leading. Good leaders go to others, and I think this is just so critically important. Again, my observation is that great leaders surround themselves with people who are simply very skilled in the things they do. And often people who have different skills to the leader themselves. People often say that you tend to surround yourself with people who are like you. Although there's always an element of truth to that, I think really good leaders surround themselves with people who are probably smarter than they are, that's the first thing, And secondly, people who actually give a much broader range of skills to the leadership team. And I think that's critically important in building a team. And good leadership is about building teams. Up to number 9, I think. This is one of the really important things. Arrogance is a really bad look. You do see people who are in leadership positions who are arrogant by the way they present themselves and the way they talk. My view is that you probably can't do anything which is worse than that. You need to be able to talk to people at all levels within your organisation. You need to be able to value people at all levels within your organisation. You need to be humble in the things that you actually do. And I think that there's no need to... People sometimes say that the way you talk to people and so on means that you can actually have authority. My view is you don't gain authority by the way you interact with people. You gain authority by the respect that people have for what you do. And I think that's pretty important. Often when people look at leaders, they say, well, the leader's the person who's sort of looking at this big visionary stuff, take the organisation out 10 years, they're interested in the broad context that the thing that you're leading sits in. Absolutely true. But my observation also is that good leaders know that detail is important as well. So my 10th observation is that details are important. Now, that doesn't mean that you should micromanage things, that's not leadership. But a good leader understands their organisation really well. So that you know that if you push this organisation over here, exactly what will happen to it. And I think you can't lead a group or an organisation if you don't actually understand the details of the thing that you're leading. So you need to know the big strategic context that you sit in, but you need to know your organisation intimately well. Almost at the end. 2 to go. Universities are wonderful organisations for a whole range of things, and one of the things that people in universities love are titles. So we have doctors and professors and pro-vice chancellors and deputy vice chancellors and vice chancellors and chancellors, and there are an endless number of fellows and visiting fellows, and we love titles. And people occasionally come to me and they'll say, look, to do my job I need this special title because people simply won't take me seriously without the title. And it's amazing how often that happens. And again, a bit like the comment I made about arrogance, my view is that titles count for nothing. People may be impressed by your title when they shake your hand, but they'll pretty quickly forget what your title is if you don't actually deliver the goods. So again, people respect you for what you do rather than what you're called. And the title you have, as I say, will be very ephemeral. It will last just a few seconds. And my last observation, and I think probably the most important one, is that optimism is contagious. So within organisations, really well-functioning organisations, if you can develop a feeling amongst the people in that organisation that almost anything is possible, give it a go. We can do anything that we set our minds to. If you can develop that sort of optimism, then the bounds of that organisation are almost limitless. The things that you can do will surprise you on a daily basis. So there you are, 12 very short comments on leadership. I'm sure there are many, many others that people will be able to, with much more detailed background in leadership, will be able to convey to you. But those few simple comments, the fact that if you're in a leadership position, you need to be able to remember that you need to listen, you need to be able to talk, you need to know the decisions you're making, ones that you feel comfortable with, but ultimately that you do actually need to make decisions if you're going to be a leader, are all critically important. So I hope you have a very rewarding day today. I'm sure you've got from our scene, we've got a host of very, very interesting speakers, and I'm sure that you'll find it all very valuable. And can I just congratulate you for all taking the time to invest in this. Thank you very much. I'm very sorry I have to literally speak and run.
Thanks, David. We'll let Ian leave so I don't talk him out of the room. Feel this week. So we're going to hand over to our next speaker now, and Matthew Andrews is the Manager of Employee Relationships with CPA Australia. Matthew's going to talk about a really interesting topic, which is that connection with what happens next once you get through this university experience and the kind of expectations on you as leaders and potential leaders. Just on reflection, it was funny what Professor Young was saying about titles. In the Purpose startup we were lucky enough to get flown over to Silicon Valley and London to pitch in front of people, and so we had to make up titles because we were just three guys in the room. And so we literally, because we had to get business cards printed, had to divvy up what it was that we thought we were called, and so I called myself Chief Marketing Officer, my partner Dan called himself the CEO, and we had a guy who worked for us 2 days a week who we called the CTO. And so over there it was really important when people went, oh, you're the CEO and you're the CMO, but we were just three guys in the room who had to call themselves something. And ironically, no one ever knows actually what those acronyms mean. So every time someone talks to me, they say, so you're the CMO? And I say, yeah. And they say, I have no idea what that means. And I say, well, it doesn't really matter because we're just three guys in the room doing a job. So I think that the not worrying about what we're called is an important lesson. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Matthew. Welcome him to the stage, please.
Thank you very much, Justin. Let me just set my little slideshow. Alrighty, I'm not going to go straight on to the naked CEO. You can wait in anticipation just for a couple of minutes until we get to that. Thank you very much to the University and AIESEC for allowing us to say a few words here today. Hopefully I'll be able to add a little bit of value to what your Vice-Chancellor has said to you today. Leadership for me is a very, very interesting topic, and a lot's been written about leadership as the Vice-Chancellor commented on over the years. There's a myriad of books and webinars and courses you can do, but the one thing I think that everything reinforces, is that leadership is a very fluid concept and changes constantly, and leading people and managing people is probably the most challenging thing you'll ever do in your working career, just because of the variables that are there. Now, for students who are completing their degrees and going into graduate programs, one of the first really big challenges that you'll face after you've actually finished your graduate program is a lot of your high-performing students, you're going into a role where there's fairly high expectations, and you'll probably fairly quickly find yourself in a position where there'll be a leadership component to the job that you're doing, whether you'll have people reporting to you directly, whether you're overseeing people. And it really is a big challenge. Now, the big challenge is you've done a lot of technical training throughout your education. However, how much actual leadership training and leadership experience that you have. Some people look to volunteer in different organisations at university, which will certainly develop their leadership skills, but where do you go from there? So I learned very early on in my career that there is, as the Vice-Chancellor said, there is no one right way to lead, and again, it will change constantly. And having role models as you go along the journey is a very important thing. However, the role models that you have in your immediate supervisors when you start can vary from very, very good to very, very bad. So it's trying to harness the best from those experiences. Now, one of the great things that you'd be great to be able to do is actually hear what prominent business and organisational leaders across both the public and private sector have to say on leadership, which now that does lead me into my little naked CEO. Is the naked CEO. So CPA Australia is looking, I should probably just very quickly point out, does everybody know who CPA Australia is, or anyone not? So I'll just very quickly, CPA Australia is Australia's largest professional body, so around about 140,000 members in 114 bodies. We are technically a professional accounting designation, but we see ourselves as more business leadership organisation. So we're looking to give university students a career advantage via an initiative called the Naked CEO. So as I was mentioning, many of your students aspire to positions of influence, power, monetary reward, and our CEO, Alex Melly, has taken on the role of the Naked CEO to give students an insight into the day-to-day realities of achieving a position of professional leadership. So by sharing the deepest insights from today's leaders, the Naked CEO seeks to pass on their learnings to tomorrow's leaders, which is you guys, giving students the inside tips on how to progress in both business and society as a whole. So we've got a student diarist who is following our CEO Alex around to meetings with various business leaders, our own internal board meetings, to view their observations and opinions. He's acting as a voice of the student community, and he'll document essentially the whole journey and everything via a blog. Students can actually get involved, which is a great opportunity to have your voice heard through the student diarist, and you can do this by getting active in the Naked CEO forum and submitting your own opinions, questions and concerns. The student diarist will take the conversations from the community forum and give his own perspective on investigating the student community, primary questions and concerns. So this is our lovely CEO, Alex Malley, who is a very adventurous fellow and someone who's always very willing to stick his neck out. We actually had a fair bit of criticism from our own board about this Naked CEO project, wondering exactly what it will do to the reputation of CPA Australia. It's a very bold move, and I think it's one that will actually be, in the long term, shown to be a very insightful move. As you can see there, he's had a fairly long career in a variety of different roles as a CEO, a board director, a life coach, consultant, educator. He's worked at Macquarie University for a very long time, and a benefactor in business, government, higher education, and not-for-profit sectors. Obviously, the government sector for us here in Canberra is a very important part. He's a very passionate and influential on issues, and if you ever get to meet him in person, and he will be here on August the 23rd, I think, to officially launch Naked CEO. If you meet him in person, you will realise he's a very, very engaging person. As you can see there, his venture has been one on adventure rather than predictability. So what actually is the Naked CEO? What can you get? So there's a weekly interview with a well-known business leader, conversation-style videos showing behind-the-scenes footage and dynamics between Alex and Adam, Adam is the student diarist based in Melbourne. A blog from Adam detailing his experiences and observations through the eyes of a student, and also a blog from our CEO Alex. Getting nervous now to get my photo taken. There's some great tips in there on how to establish and get ahead in your career, which I think for aspirational people is a very good one. And you get an uncensored view on what it means to be a leader and what's involved in holding senior positions in business. And I think that uncensored view, it's not a textbook view, it's not a necessarily research considered view. It's actually the individual view of the person that Alex is speaking to, as well as Alex himself. And you've got the opportunity to get involved and get the answers to your questions by joining the community forum and submitting questions for Alex himself. And he does actually respond personally to questions as well, so which is a great thing. If you haven't already signed up for CPA Passport, our student ambassadors will be out the back handing out passport forms. Gives you the opportunity to get connected both to the Naked CEO but as well as all the other activities that the CPA Passport program entitles you to. And to learn more, you go to www.thenakedceo.com to learn more. Now, there is a site just called Naked CEO. Don't worry, it's not a bad site. You can still probably look it up on your university computers, but it's just another forum from, I think, the States. But it's thenakedceo.com.au. Oh, sorry, not .au, just .com. And that's about it. So thank you very much for your time.
Okay, so let's get to the plan for today. The agenda is in the booklet that you might have received as you came in if you didn't grab on your way out. Pretty simple agenda. You're about to move out to 2 rounds of workshops, which gives you there's 6 opportunities there to hear some fantastic content. We'll kick off at 10, and I'd ask logistically if everyone could move to the room that they're going to swiftly, so that the speakers can get into their workshops. That'd be fantastic. I'm just going to ask the first round speakers, just so you can put some faces to names, so to stand up so that you can see the people you're about to meet and hear from. So the speakers from the first round of workshops, I did warn everyone nearly that I was going to do this. We've got Dr. Liam Waldron here, who will be running the workshop on how to influence the management team in the main hall. Up the back, Alistair will be running the workshop on Beyond Zero Emissions in the meetings room, and the meeting room is back down the corridor you came up and through the reception, and you'll see signs. And Jess is here to run the 5 principles of success with Deirdre Lambert, who's just coming in the background. And they'll be in the SCARF room, which is just off the lobby here as well. So they're our first round of speakers. Thanks, guys. Sorry to put you on the spot like that. Other speakers who will be talking during the day, who I will get to stand up now because you'll be out and about and moving through the workshops as we go. So I know Ben's here, I know Polly and Emil are here. So we have Ben Dugan up the back, Polly, I'm going to get everyone's name right. Polly Henry and Emil Kogan here at the front, and you'll see these guys come during the day and the other speakers. So logistically, if you just move to your rooms, enjoy the workshop and then move on to the next round, that would be fantastic. And we all end up back in here at 12:15 for lunch networking session in the foyer. And again, I'd urge you to make contact, talk amongst yourselves and with any of the speakers who you've seen during the day to really network and connect with them. But as I've said for the 5th time today, that's enough from me. Let's move you on to the workshops. So please enjoy the first round, think of those questions for the panel, and we'll see you back in here at 12:15. Thanks, guys.